Hi everyone, welcome to our session. So today's session is going to be on loving kindness. So as we know that loving kindness forms a part of character building, and Master Choa Kok Sui talks about character building as an important way to build ourselves, especially in the spiritual practices. So let's start with an invocation. Okay, let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate, inhale and exhale. Let us invoke to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother. We thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for your divine help and protection, for illumination, abundance, and prosperity. We thank you. Let's start with Super Brain Yoga. In Super Brain Yoga, we cross our arms in front of our chest, connect the tongue to the palate. Let us all face east since that is safe for everyone. And with our tongue connected to the palate, we are going to do an inhalation and do a semi squat. And as we exhale, we're going to come up. We are going to help coming. So let's start. Inhale.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll talk about loving kindness today. So Master Choa talks about character building. Now, what he says here in this book called Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul is that when he says meditating regularly is like being fertilized. So throw the fertilizer on the ground, and whatever is in the ground, either good or bad, seeds will grow. So what that basically means is you may have noticed that as you meditate, as we meditate rather, we tend to become more and more powerful. And those of us who have been meditating for a long time, we may have noticed that things we say tend to either come true, right? So this of course is a very much later stage, but what happens is that because of the kind of energy that is flowing through us, what tends to happen is that whenever we say something, then that tends to what as master says, it tends to manifest. Okay, and by master I mean Master Choa Kok Sui. Okay, so anyway, so what he says here is when the virtues are highly developed, this means that the higher soul has a greater connection or control on the incarnated soul and the body. He also talks about this. He says, when you do meditations, you have to practice yama and niyama or character building. So, yama niyama is a term in yoga. It's used often in hatha yoga. It's also talked about in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And when we have our session on the Bhagavad Gita, especially on the character name Shaibya, we will also be talking about the yama niyama aspect, which is basically the do and the don't. Okay, so character building has two parts. There's do's and there's don'ts. Okay, also in our archangel session this week we will be talking about the wise maidens and the foolish maidens, which is also a representation of the vices and the virtues. Okay, so with that, so loving kindness, according to Master Cho, there are, for most of us, we think we are loving, and but we forget that sometimes if someone is not nice to us, then we may or may not find ourselves being loving towards them. Yes, so that's a problem that we sometimes will face. And he says here, being polite, courteous, and helpful. So often I found that even for myself, being polite, courteous, and helpful for everything is a bit of a challenge. So what happens is that with Twin Hearts meditation, what happens is that helps us to become more loving. Okay, and the way it magically happens is that when we open up our heart, open up our crown, and we've already opened up our heart, then what happens is energy begins to flow. And for those of us who have done pranic healing or have not, you may be aware that we have this aura. So if you visualize this bubble around us, and when we do meditation, the size of the aura also increases. So this bubble is getting bigger and bigger. Okay, so I just need you to visualize this. Okay, so let's say I'm this big, and there is my aura, and then as I meditate, this bubble that is around my aura is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what happens is that let's say I go from place to place, then obviously I'm taking my aura with me, right? And because the aura is big, what's happening is that whoever is in my aura is also going to feel whatever I'm feeling, in the sense that I'll have more positive energy to give to people. So again, when we are in the presence of the guru, or for those of us who go to like places of worship, any kind of place of worship, what happens is that the energy there also is so strong that when we go there and we think we are praying, which is true, but it's because of the aura of that place, because I think in Hinduism we talk about something called pran pratishtha, and I think in the other religions we talk about something called consecration. Basically, the idea of consecration or pran pratishtha is to put prana into that idol or into that place to make it divine. So you kind of like create a little connection between the supreme and that place, and then the energy flows. Okay, so loving kindness, so there are many kinds of loving kindness. Okay, there's loving kindness in action, which means obviously not beating up anybody, not hitting anybody. You know how sometimes we just like walk up to a friend and be like, hey, how are you, right? I know they know they don't take it in the wrong way, but we have to be aware that any action is going to have a reaction. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're playing with those kind of jokes. um, the next, of course, is kindness with words. So tomorrow we'll be talking about when we have to use words in a different way. But today what we're talking about is positivity. So it says here in Master's book, he says you can show appreciation or give recognition for someone's achievements. So most of us have some achievement, right? Like we must have done something sometime somewhere. Even the people who we're really irritated with, or we're not you know how it is. So even if we're having an issue with someone, we still can be aware that they may have done something good. So the idea of loving kindness is to uh, talk about that with them, or to say, hey, you did this well. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's say you have somebody who is irritated all the time, let's just say, for example, okay, but one day they smiled, so that's the day you can acknowledge it. Okay, because what tends to happen is that we tend to acknowledge them all the 15 times that they were irritated, but we tend not to say anything when they actually smile. So loving kindness is always being, as Master says, being polite, courteous, and helpful. So if you feel that something is not going to be helpful, then sometimes it's better not to say it. Not always true for me, I'm still learning. So these talks are as much for me as for everybody else, so it's like a give and take. Okay, next is mental. So on mental criticism, it's basically about not criticizing somebody. So suppose we have somebody in the family, or not even in the family, we just go out and we look at something and we're like, कितना गंदा color है, or and it's not even relevant to us. We just unnecessarily passing comments mentally in the mind. So we need to be aware that by the law of karma, this is not going to help us build our character. Okay, what's important is that, okay, if you see something that is not a good color, you can probably just say, okay, I don't like this color, and just move on, or just be like, what's actually good is that if we can at that point basically say, I am the soul. I am not the body. I am not the emotions. I am not the thoughts. My soul is observing that my mind dislikes this color. And you move on. Okay, so that's the part of the soul affirmation that I wanted to discuss, is that we can use the soul affirmation at any point. If we catch ourselves saying something nasty or something like that, you can just be like, today my astral body had a negative reaction to this particular person or this particular thing. And I am the soul. I am not the emotional body. Okay. So we can just kind of like step back and just be like, I, the soul, I'm observing that my body, my astral body, my emotional body, my mental body are having these kind of thoughts which are negative, and then just let it go. Okay. So, one more thing I wanted to share today is that there was a teacher by the name of Annie Besant. She's also one of the leaders in the Theosophical Society. And she basically practiced loving kindness by checking out the newspapers for people who had problems and needed help. Obviously, she didn't know them. Using her yogic powers, she blessed them so that they would have a better life. Okay, so I know some of us are news addicts. We keep looking at the news. This happened and that happened. So, just be aware that whenever there is something happening somewhere on the planet, if we can just kind of, even just mentally, just be like, okay, God, please send blessings to this place. And if it's possible for us to raise our hands in blessing position and actually direct, raise our hands in blessing position, activate the crown, activate the heart, activate the crown, and just bless it for a few minutes. If someone's, I mean, I tend to do that whenever I see a situation that needs help. I don't do it every time, but I'm getting there. Okay. Okay, so you can do the same thing by looking for people with problems and doing distant healing on them. So that, as you know, is something that we also do in the group here. We invite everyone to come, and while you meditate, we do healing for you for whatever issue that you may tell us on the chat box that you're having. So yes, it is. This is also a manifestation of loving kindness. And just for everyone's information, we also do have a group of healers who are offering healing services for free. So if you have a COVID patient, this is not for any other cause. This is basically for COVID right now. So if you have a COVID patient, you can text us, and if the healers are available, we will assign a service healing for them. Okay, so just be aware of that. And those of us who are healers, I would really appreciate if you would take up the healing rather than just assign patients to us. Okay, so please try to become a healer. If you've even done basic pranic healing, you can do the basic healing for somebody. Okay, so with that, we'll start with the next step. Let's bless everyone. Be out of the crown, the heart, and the hands. Let's bless everyone affected by the COVID-19 virus. Let's follow the example of Annie Besant, and let's remember everyone who we know who has any kind of issue, and let us bless them. Let's fill our heart, our crown, and our hands. Let's bless our financial targets, our health targets, our relationship targets, and our spiritual targets. Let's keep in mind that we are going to try to say things that are helpful, loving, and kind. And one more thing that we're going to do is we are not going to scold ourselves if we don't manage to do it all the time. Okay. So one of the things that we wanted to mention very clearly, and we put it on our poster, is that this aspect is going to grow slowly. So let's be aware that we are trying, that we are on the right path. But if we don't manage to be loving and kind all the time, it's okay. We are work in progress. We are learning. We are growing, and we are going to get there. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us for our session on loving kindness. This is part of a series called Character Building, obviously taught by Master Choa Kok Sui and the Pranic Healing School. We hope to see you tomorrow. And for those of us who are watching this session later on YouTube, you may join us for our live sessions by texting us on the number provided below. It's a WhatsApp message, so hopefully that's easy for you. And you can also subscribe to our channel. That way you'll be notified every time we have a new release. Okay, so thank you so much. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to do healing for you and to meditate together. Thank you so much. Bye.